Well, YouTube, Facebook, these big social media companies, obviously you know what they are. Everybody is on there. I'm on there. Go ahead and subscribe to the Jesse Kelly YouTube page, by the way. But they censor. That's what these companies do. That's what they've been doing. They've been coordinating with the government, completely illegal, to censor voices they don't like, which of course we all know what that means. Voices like yours, like mine. So by the grace of God, we have a whole new sheriff in town. Brendan Carr joins us. He is the big cheese, the chairman of the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission. Okay, Brendan, I don't even know if I want to ask how much ugliness you've uncovered since you took over the new position.
Oh, there's a tremendous amount, and so good to be with you, Jesse. I mean, look, like like your listeners and viewers know, Americans have lived through an unprecedented surge in censorship over the last couple of years. It really accelerated with COVID-19 in particular, right? Once you have this increase in government control, which is what COVID was, you necessarily have a decrease in free speech. And so we're working at the FCC to restore free speech. During the Biden years in particular, there was a tremendous amount of collusion between the government and the private sector to shut Americans down simply for expressing political viewpoints that were unorthodox or at odds with the Biden administration.
Brendan, does it shake you at all? Because you mentioned COVID, that's when we all really saw it. How many willing participants there were in this? I mean, it's one thing for the White House to send a letter to Facebook to say censor out any of these unvaxxers, but it's another thing entirely for virtually every platform to say, okay, we're all over that, we will do it. Why?
Yeah, it's concerning how much these social media platforms cave, particularly back in the day. Facebook. And look, the government put some leverage on them. On the one hand, Section 230 is this prize liability shield that they had, and the Biden administration was effectively using that as a sort of Damocles to get them to engage in censorship. But you're right. I don't think any of these companies should have caved quite so easily. Now, Facebook has come forward, Zuckerberg, and said, mea culpa, mea maxima culpa, and said he's going to do the right thing now. And I think we're in a trust but verify stage. It's great that he's doing it. It was always nice. You had people like Elon Musk and who stood in the breach and stood for free speech when no one else did. And again, I'm glad to have Facebook coming back. Google, I still think, has an awful lot of work to do to match where those other companies are. And then globally, whether it's Brazil with this out of control Justice de Morais over there, who's censoring X and to some extent Facebook as well, to Europe, they have this new regulation, the Digital Services Act, which is effectively a censorship regime. And so it's still very much a live battle to return to free speech. We've made some good progress in the U.S. President Trump has come out swinging. And that's been very important for free speech. But globally, it's still a very live debate if we're going to have free speech or we're going to have censorship.
Brendan, I understand you're a man, you're not a god, so you can't fix all the problems in the world. But is there anything you can do with your current position to ensure this doesn't happen again? Because you'll have to forgive me if I don't look at the current rhetoric of modern day Democrats and think to myself, these people would do all the same things again in a heartbeat, if not do much worse if they ever achieve power again. And I don't want that for my country.
Yeah, look, we saw a tremendous amount of weaponization during the Biden years. So, for instance, Democrats in Congress wrote letters to cable companies suggesting or asking them to drop Fox News and Newsmax from their cable channels. We had a Democrat prosecutor in Baltimore ask us to revoke the license of a TV station simply because they were investigating what turned out to be illegal conduct, potentially by that particular prosecutor. So we saw all this weaponization. Now, there's another side of the coin as well, which is if you were sort of aligned with President Biden, you got very favorable treatment from the FCC. For instance, George Soros-backed group, they made a move to buy 200 plus radio stations, and the FCC, in an unprecedented action before the election, streamlined that acquisition in violation of our very own commission level precedents. Now, what do we do about it? One thing that I think the FCC should do is we should take up Section 230 reform ourselves, but do so in a way that leaves incentives for people to allow other people to speak and decreases the incentives for people to censor. There's a very nuanced way that you do that. It involves this particular statutory provision 230C2, which is where I think the FCC should step in. But at the end of the day, what we want is to empower the actual participants in the digital town square to make their own decisions. I mean, look, this isn't like that Sandra Bullock movie, is it Bird Box, where your eyes are forced to be open to someone's speech. If you don't want to see something, great. Don't follow that person, mute that person, block certain keywords. But we want the power back to the participants in the town square, not the companies themselves.
Brendan, from what I understand, you are on a massive delete campaign, that you are deregulating things. And that, of course, is music to my small government ears. Explain what's going on.
Yeah, we're doing a comprehensive top to bottom review of every single rule and regulation at the FCC. We've titled the proceeding "In-Ray Delete, Delete, Delete" to give people a sense of what we're trying to do here. So we're doing that soup to nuts. We've stood up our own Doge group inside the FCC. We're working in conjunction with the Doge group itself. I don't know if Big Balls himself is involved or not on the official Doge side, but we are going to deliver significant regulatory reform. You know, we got this CFR, this Code of Federal Regulations, and it's probably, I don't know, 12 inches thick at this point, and I really want to sort of whack that down by multiple inches at this point.
The FCC, you wouldn't think, at least the normal person wouldn't think, that you could help at all with this swatting that's been going on. We've been covering it extensively on the show, which is essentially the attempted murder of people on the right by the dirty communists in this country. What can you do about it?
Yeah, this is really concerning, particularly a lot of the conservatives, a lot of the new media conservatives have been seeing this surge in swatting incidents recently. There's a lot that can be done. We've actually been in touch with HHS, with DOJ, FBI, with law enforcement agencies, and are letting them be aware that there is an organization, a group, a mechanism that we have that can trace back phone calls that are coming in. And so if you get a swatting incident to a local police department, they can provide us the telephone number, or this group the telephone number, and we can trace back to the originating network of the call. And that can help make sure that we track this down. And so everyone should know, if they're engaged in this conduct, we do have the tools to find out where these calls are coming from. We are going to be following up on any request that comes in, and people are going to get caught, and they rightly should be held accountable for this type of effectively sort of, political terrorism that we're seeing.
China is an easy boogeyman. I'm certainly no fan myself, and they are a bad actor. But how much of the internet censorship, internet propaganda, internet involvement in elections, how much of it do you see coming from China?
I think China is engaged in a lot of censorship out there. If you just step back, one of the most significant developments to come is AI, artificial intelligence. The Trump administration has been clear that the U.S. is going to lead the world on this. We're going to have the gold standard AI. Well, there's a fork in the road. There's another version of AI that's out there, and it's the one that's being developed by China. And you look at DeepSeek, their version of AI, and you ask it what happened at Tiananmen Square, they'll say nothing. It was a great day. You ask them, how are the Uyghurs doing? They say they're perfectly fine. They're being taken care of. They're getting a nice new education. And so there's a real fork in the road for the globe. If AI is dominated by China and their version of it, it'll be ideologically biased. It'll be deep on censorship. And that's why Vice President Vance was so clear when he went to Europe and said, the U.S. is going to lead. It's going to be the gold standard. We don't need to go it alone. We're happy to have Europe and other parts of the globe follow us and enjoy the benefits of this world-leading AI, because your other alternative is to go with the approach that China's taking. And that is not going to be, a very good picture going forward, just with the censorship that's embedded there.
I cannot possibly let you go without asking you about this video of you in an 1,800-foot tower.
All right, made it to the top with Hassan and his crew. They're swapping out the lighting system up here. Wonderful day with them. America's tower crews get the toughest jobs done. Super grateful for their work.
Brendan, I have all the respect in the world for you personally and professionally. What's wrong with you? I can't even look at the video. How did you even get up there?
Yeah, it's a great question. So look, most people, they turn their smartphone on, they turn their TV on. If they think about it at all, they think it's, magic or pixie dust, but it's these, hardworking men and women. I think I saw news reports over the weekend referring to the people that support Trump as brutal or savage Americans. I can tell you it takes an awful lot of brutal, savage Americans to build this type of infrastructure. And I've always tried to just highlight their work and their efforts, because at the end of the day, we need more workers in this space. We need to, stand up the dignity of what they're getting done. And any time I get to spend a day hanging with the tower crew, it's a lot of fun. I actually don't like heights, to tell you the truth, but you kind of got to compartmentalize that and focus on just what's right in front of you, and don't let the intrusive thoughts win out. But I love getting up there with those crews. I've done about 4 of those big towers around 2,000 feet. It's always a lot of fun.
Oh, you're outside of your mind. But I love the work you're doing, Brendan. Please come back anytime. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. I would thank you for coming to my YouTube channel, but I know how brilliant it is, and I know you love it here. So subscribe and watch. We're going to start really ramping things up and putting some funny stuff, some interesting stuff out there, some collaborations. Either way, my YouTube channel is officially the place to be. So stick around.